Welcome back to The Avenue, and I have a very important question I'd like to ask you today. Please consider this. Can you even imagine what life would be like if you didn't owe anyone a single dollar? Not a penny. No student loans, no car loans, no credit card payments every month. Just debt free, totally debt free. Can you even imagine that? Well, we're going to talk about that today. That's the topic of today because I have 5 things I want you to think about because I want you to consider living this debt-free life. Stay tuned. This concept of living without any debt is probably something that is not the norm because most people we know, they have debt, at least a mortgage. I still have a mortgage payment. So most of us have some type of debt, but there are some people that don't owe anybody anything, including their house. It's totally paid off. And that is a life of financial freedom to the max. And so we're going to talk about that today because one thing that you get when you don't owe anybody anything is you do get that financial freedom. And I experienced a little bit of that myself. I only have a house payment and that's all I have. I don't have a car payment. I just bought a car last year, and you all know if you follow the channel, I paid cash for that car. So I don't have debt on the car. I don't have credit card payments that I have to make monthly. When I charge something on my credit cards, it gets paid off every month. But these are normal bills for the most part that I'm charging on my credit card, my utility bills. Those are things that I would have to write a check or go online and pay for anyway. So why not get the credit card points for those? It's not costing me any more money because I go in and pay it off. So living this debt-free life can bring you freedom, financial freedom. And let me explain when I'm saying financial freedom. If something were to come up, such as last year, something came up that was not in my budget, but I wanted to take a little trip, go somewhere, go to a special function. It was going to be a once in a lifetime thing for me. And it was going to cost a little bit of money. I was going to have to do some traveling. But because I do not owe anybody anything except for my mortgage payment, I was able to get the money and do it without putting it on a credit card or worrying about how am I going to pay for this, how I'm going to pay for travel, how I'm going to pay for hotel if needed, how I'm going to pay for tickets to the event. I didn't have to worry about any of that. It's like if I wanted to do it, I could do it. That's the type of financial freedom you can have when you don't owe anyone anything. If you owe credit card, MasterCard, Visa, a large amount, and you're having to pay them every month, $200, $300, $400, $500 a month, and you cannot miss a payment unless it will be reflected on your credit report, that is kind of like in bondage because you have to pay them. You've run the bill up so much, you have to pay them every month. But if you were to pay that off, you would have that extra $300, $400, $500 coming in each month, and you wouldn't have to be faced with that. You would have the financial freedom to do something else with that money, make your own decisions with what you do with that money, and not be bound to sending a check or sending, the money to Visa or MasterCard each and every month. And some of you all have more than just 2 or 3 credit cards. You may have store cards that you're sending money to, especially now that Christmas is over. There may be more money that's going out of your household now than ever before. So I want you to consider, if you've never thought about it, because like I said, it's the norm to have a whole bunch of bills on you or to everybody be in debt. But if you could even get this concept into your head that I'm financially free, I don't owe anybody anything, and I have the money to do whatever I want with each and every month. Take that in consideration because there is financial freedom. The next thing I want you to do is think about the level of stress that not meeting your bills or having these bills hang over your head each and every month, how that is stressing you out. Some of you all are missing sleep at night, trying to figure out how you're going to pay this, how you're going to pay that, what's going to go lacking, what are you going to pay until you can get some money to pay something off, what's going to be late even, in paying stuff. So this will be stressful for you when you have all these bills on you. But we don't think about the stress level that it's going to cause when we're charging the credit cards, when we're going out purchasing things, because we think, oh, it's just $200 extra. Oh, it's just $300 extra a month and I can afford it. But I'm here to tell you, if you could afford it, just go ahead and pay cash for it. Do that for yourself and you won't have that level of stress. But seriously, finances, it's the number one reason people get divorced, because of finances. And that's not because they have so much money they don't have any, don't know what to do with it. It's because they don't have enough and bills are coming up, and they may be trying to work a little extra, having arguments about bills and that type of thing. So you can relieve yourself of this financial stress if you live a debt-free life. Now, it's going to take some time to get there, granted, but I want to put this picture in your mind that it is doable, and it's something that may even make you healthier because you won't have that stress. Stress will hit you at your weakest point. It may be anywhere in your body, and when you have that hit you like that, it's going to play on your health. Not getting enough sleep at night, worried about this, worried about that, maybe missing work, developing some type of chronic diseases sometimes, you all, from the stress that we have. So we need to take care of ourselves, and we could start by relieving some of the stress by getting some of this debt off of us. So consider that debt-free living. Now, I know how easy it is for us to say why we need debt in our lives to make ends meet, right? But living within your means, which is sometimes difficult, 100% difficult when you do not have a budget. And this is when I'm going to bring up the B word. You need a budget to begin with to live within your means. You don't know where your means is coming from. You don't know where the means is going. You're just writing checks and you don't know what's happening. So before you can, get things up under control and start paying off the debt, you need a budget so that you can know how much money you have coming in, how much you have going out, and what bill are you going to focus on first, what bill you're going to focus on next to get this up under control. Like I said, coming out of the holidays, some of us have even more debt than you did before you went into the holidays. You didn't want to disappoint someone for Christmas, or you didn't want to disappoint someone for going over to their house, that type of thing. So you went out and got into more debt and not considering, how am I going to pay this off? When December's over with, the New Year's hit, we're here in the new year, and now we're wondering, how am I going to pay this off? The debt-free living, you all, is something that I really want you to consider this year, because you can do it if you consider it and get this up under control. But it's going to start with a budget, and it's going to start with paying off these debts. Now, before you get too upset with me, hit that like button and that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on the latest information as I'm bringing it to you. Because we know your daily decisions determines your destiny, and I'm here to help you with those daily decisions. Think about before you act. Just think the things that you're going to do, think them through before you act on them, and you can make it better this year than you had it last year. Think back to last year. Where were you sitting last year financially? Hopefully, if you've been following the channel, you should be better this year than last year. And we're going to continue to make it better every month. Number 3, increased opportunities. When you are living debt-free, as opportunities become available to you, as they present themselves to you, you have the money to take advantages of those opportunities. It may be small things or it may be larger things, because as you're living debt free, you could be saving some of that money in different accounts. So, and I can tell you from experience, the only way that I was able to buy a rental property was living debt free and saving that money. So when the opportunity became available for me to purchase a property, I had that money available and I could do that. I could put a down payment on the property. That is the one type of debt that I allow myself to have, is a mortgage. And if it's rental property, most of the times someone else is paying partial or either all of that mortgage on that property. And so that's the one kind of debt that I give myself a little leeway. But everything else, I don't give myself any leeway when it comes to credit cards, when it comes to any type of loans. If I feel like if I can't buy it outright, I can't afford it, right? Because I'm not going to pay on something, especially if it's depreciating in value. That is one of my rules. If it's an asset, a depreciating asset, I have to pay cash for it or I don't need it. So that's the way I roll as far as what I'm concerned with. But as the opportunities become available, you all, because you don't have all this debt on your back, You can have opportunities to start a business. You can have opportunities to buy some rental property. You can have opportunities to go on vacation, travel places. And when you get home, you don't have to worry about how you're going to pay for it, because it's paid for before you step foot on that plane to go overseas or wherever it is that you want to go. So consider this: opportunities for you. If you want to go back to school, if you don't have a whole bunch of debt on you, save up that money and do the things that you want to do. Live the life that you want to live, but don't live it while paying interest to someone else because you've borrowed their money. Put your own money aside, use your own money for the things that you want to do, and live that good life that you want to live and that you deserve to live. Number 4, wealth building. And I can't emphasize this even more, because even with the money that I'm using to purchase these properties, it's actually being invested into bricks. That's what I call it, invested into bricks. Because normally when you buy land or a property, a house, it's going to increase in value over time. If you put money into the stock market, it will increase in value over time if you put it in the right stock. So if you will go and look at your credit card statement and look at the amount of interest that you're paying on that credit card, not the percentage, the actual amount of interest, because some of you all, with these minimum payments that you're making, you're only scratching the surface of taking some of that principal off of what you're actually paying. You're paying more in interest, and they have you, and they will have you for years and years and years. Whatever you did 5 years ago, you're still paying for today. And we don't want that to happen. But look at the interest that you're paying Visa, MasterCard, or whoever you have that card with. Just look at it. Some of you are paying $200, $300, $400, $500 in interest every month. So you're just giving them money. You're just giving money away in interest. You could be putting the $200, $300, $400, $500 in the stock market. You could be putting in a savings account to get interest on that money so you can eventually purchase something. You could be doing all sorts of things with this money aside from giving it to MasterCard or Visa, because you borrowed their money and now you have to pay them back with interest. And rightfully so. If you borrow money from me, I'm going to expect for you to pay me back with interest. So you've done it now, and when you start talking about in the 20s, getting close to the 30% interest on the money that you've borrowed, that's a lot of money, you all. So if the 20%, 29%, 30% interest doesn't register with you, when you get your Visa card statement in or MasterCard statement in, look at the amount of interest that you're paying. Don't start crying, but just look at it. And that should behoove you to go ahead and get that paid down until you can pay it off, because you're just handing that money over to someone else where you could be investing it, retire early, go on trips, do things that you want to do, buy properties, make that money, make money for you, all sorts of things, instead of giving it to MasterCard and Visa. The last point I want to drive home with you, and hopefully you'll hear me on this one, is emergencies. I know we talk about an emergency fund. Some of you all don't have the emergency fund fully funded yet. You may have a certain amount in there, but the majority of the people in the U.S. cannot afford a $400 emergency if it happened to them. And if your credit cards are charged all the way up to the max, that means you can't use the credit card. What are you going to do? So we need to start paying down these credit cards. We need to start getting some money set aside, not paying all of this money out to MasterCard and all these other loans, student loans, car loans that we have out there, not paying all the money out to them, where if an emergency would happen, you can't afford that emergency. And if you have some room on your credit card, some people use their credit cards for emergencies, and that's not what you're supposed to use a credit card for. You should have an emergency fund for that, to take care of that. But we all know, the stats show that the majority of the people cannot pay for a $400 emergency. And as inflation has gone up, a $400 emergency is not that huge of an emergency, So take a trip to the emergency room, do some things, get a flat tire or 2 tires, have your car break down. And with the inflation that's gone on, more than likely it's going to be more than $400. So we need to get a handle on this. If you're living debt free, you have that money coming in, because this is the way it'll roll, you guys. You have money, whatever money you make from your job that you have coming in after you pay, all your medical insurance and all that kind of stuff, because some bills you're going to always have utilities, medical bills and stuff like that, or insurance. So you're going to have that. But once you pay all of that off, you still have money coming in, your net pay. If you didn't have to, and you still have to buy groceries and things like that, right? You're always going to have to do that. But if you didn't have to write these $200, $300, $400 checks to all these little cards that you have out there, as well as little loans that you have out there, if you were to sit down and look at your budget, or just go through your paycheck, go through wherever you're paying these from, and just add them up. See how much money you're losing by paying these loans and this extra stuff that you have because you're not living debt free. And like I said, it's going to take time. It's not anything that's going to happen overnight because you didn't get into debt overnight. So, but it can be done one step at a time, one bill at a time. Pay one bill off, take that money you were paying with that bill, put on the next bill. Pay that one off, put on the third bill. And as you're paying these bills off, celebrate a little. Go out, have a dinner or have a small dinner, something that you don't normally do. But to reward yourself, because no one wants to be just working to pay off a bunch of bills and you don't have any freedom to do anything else. But once you gain that freedom by paying things off, stuff that you owe, it's nothing that you don't owe. You charged it, you owe it. So you bought the stuff and it's in your closet. You may have bought it 2 or 3 years ago and you're still paying on it. That's the sad part, is that, you buy something and then you take a year, 2, 3 to pay it off. And by the time you pay it off, you may have used it up or used enough where you need to throw it away and get something else, but you're still paying on it. So if we use, make our daily decisions, use wisdom before we purchase things, and then get in our head how it's going to feel when we get it all paid off and we have the money coming into us, where if there's something happens, a $400 emergency, we can pay for it, no problem. If there's somewhere we want to go, something we want to buy, we can buy it, no problem. When Christmas rolls around next year, we don't have to borrow. We'll have the money to go ahead and get the gifts that we want to get. If someone, Thanksgiving rolls around and we want to host a dinner, we have it. We don't have to put it on a credit card or anything like that. Think in these terms instead of thinking in the terms of I always have debt, I always have to pay. No, you don't. Some people are getting out of debt. Some people are realizing this debt-free life. And so I want you to consider that and just imagine how it would be if you don't owe anyone one single dime and that money is coming into your household and you're making your own decisions with what happens with your money. All right. So with that being said, I will see you in the next video.